Okay, so here's a thought experiment for you. What if humanity's deepest secrets, about where we came from, our place in the cosmos, what if they aren't locked away in some hidden vault? What if they're etched in plain sight, right there on ancient stone? Just picture yourself for a second. You're deep in these lush Mexican jungles.
Yeah, you can almost feel the humidity, hear the sound.
Exactly, the air's thick with history. And you stumble upon something incredible. Welcome, everyone, to our deep dive today. We're looking at an archaeological marvel, something that's fascinated people and, frankly, confused scholars for decades. The ancient Mayan city of Palenque.
And specifically, we're really zeroing in on one particular object, this monumental, incredibly detailed stone slab.
The sarcophagus lid, right, of their greatest ruler, Lord Pakal.
That's the one, found back in 1952 by Alberto Ruz-Luye, deep inside the Temple of the Inscriptions.
And its discovery just immediately kicked off this huge debate about what it actually means.
Yeah, and that debate, that's really the heart of what we're digging into today. You see, for mainstream archaeologists, this lid is this profound map of Mayan beliefs, like the king's journey through the cosmos.
Okay, the standard interpretation.
Right, but then there's this other group, a very vocal group, who look at it and see something totally different.
Something technological.
Exactly. Undeniable proof, they say, of an ancient astronaut, sitting in a cockpit, operating some kind of sophisticated machine, a spaceship, basically.
Wow. Okay, so that's the core of it. We are going deep into the Lord PAKAL'S machine theory, the whole ancient astronaut angle, hidden tech, suppressed truth, all of it.
Right, the whole package.
So what can you expect from this? Well, we'll walk through the actual discovery first, the facts on the ground, then the mainstream interpretation, the cosmology.
And then we dive into the radical spaceship theory. We'll look at the claims of a global cover-up.
Ooh, the juicy stuff.
The alleged evidence that proponents point to, the thorough debunking from the scientific community.
And maybe try to understand why. Why does this particular theory have such staying power? Why does it resonate so much?
It definitely captures the imagination.
It really does. So, get ready. We might be questioning some pretty fundamental ideas about human history today. All right, let's set the scene. Our story starts, like we said, in the ancient Mayan world, Palenque.
Yeah, this incredible city. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site now, tucked away in the Chiapas Mountains in southern Mexico.
Really stunning place, I hear. Known for its elegant buildings and that amazing sculptural art.
Absolutely. It really hit its peak during what's called the late classic period, so roughly 600 to 900 AD, a real golden age.
And right at the center of that golden age was the man himself, Lord Pakal. Pakal the Great.
Pakal the Great, yeah.
Yeah.
He had a long reign, 615 to 683 AD. And under him, Palenque just exploded expansion building projects, this incredible flourishing of art.
So he's a big deal in Mayan history.
Oh, huge. One of the most well-documented, most celebrated Mayan rulers we know of. Seriously.
And he actually commissioned the Temple of the Inscriptions himself, the pyramid where he was buried.
That's right. It was meant to be his funerary monument from the start. And the name, Temple of the Inscriptions, comes from all the hieroglyphic texts inside. They detail Palenque's history, Pakal's family line. It's a treasure trove.
But the real, archaeological drama kicked off much later, didn't it, in 1952?
Yeah, with Alberto Ruz-Luye. He'd been searching for years, convinced there was something more inside that pyramid.
He suspected a tomb.
He suspected something, and in 52, he found it. This hidden staircase leading down deep into the pyramid's core.
Wow. And it wasn't easy getting down there, was it?
Not at all. Took him 4 years. 4 years of clearing out rubble and debris to finally reach the burial chamber.
Untouched for over 1,000 years.
Exactly. Just imagine. And inside, there was the sarcophagus.
Yeah.
PAKAL'S sarcophagus, covered by this enormous, incredibly carved stone lid.
And that lid, that's the thing, isn't it? That's what sparks all their interpretations.
That's the focal point. It's huge, this thing. Limestone. About, 12.5 feet long?
Yeah, 3.8 meters. And 7.2 feet wide, 2.2 meters. And it weighs
around 5 tons. Just immense.
A masterpiece of Mayan art, no doubt. But also, the central piece of this whole puzzle we're discussing. Okay, so before we jump into, let's say, the more out there ideas, it's really important we understand the mainstream view first, the scholarly interpretation of this lid.
Absolutely. And this view, it isn't just pulled out of thin air. It's built on decades of really careful work, studying Mayan symbols, their writing, comparing myths across Mesoamerica.
Right, it's grounded in actual research.
Deep research. And what this research suggests is that the lid isn't just a pretty picture. That's like a cosmic map, a story of the king's spiritual journey, totally woven into how the Maya saw the universe.
So the figure is Pakal.
Yes, the central figure is definitely Pakal. And he's shown right at that crucial moment, death. Transition.
Into the underworld. Xibalba.
Into Xibalba, the Mayan underworld, yes. Or maybe it's about his rebirth from it. But he's shown, leaning back or sort of falling, moving from our world into the jaws of the underworld.
And that big vertical thing he's interacting with, that's key, right? The world tree.
The world tree, exactly. Waka Chan, they called it. This is a massive concept in Mayan thought. It's the axis mundi, the cosmic pillar connecting everything.
Underworld, earth, heavens.
Yep. Roots in the underworld, trunk on the earthly plane, branches reaching up to the celestial realm. It represents life, fertility, the whole cycle of existence, especially rebirth after death.
And it often looks like a cross, which confused some early observers.
Yeah, exactly. Early Western folks saw the cruciform shape and thought, oh, a Christian cross. Understandable mistake, maybe, but totally misinterpreted the Mayan context.
Okay, so if you look closely at the details top to bottom, what do archaeologists see?
All right, so right at the very top of the world tree, you've got this bird, the celestial bird, Itsamya.
Associated with the heavens.
With the sun, the heavens, yeah. And the big creator god, Itsamna. Then, just below the bird, wrapped around the trunk, there's this serpent bar, double-headed.
See those a lot in Mayan art, don't you?
Very common. Symbol of rulership, spiritual vision, connecting different realms. Often you see gods or ancestors coming out of the serpent mouths.
And Pakal himself has specific features.
Yeah, often he's shown with aspects of the maize god, which makes sense, right? Maize is all about that cycle, life, death, rebirth. It connects him to fertility, sustenance.
Okay, and then at the very bottom, below Pakal.
That's where you find the jaws of the underworld, sometimes called the earth monster. It's literally the entrance to the land of the dead. And the world tree is shown actually growing out of these jaws.
Completing that whole cycle.
Exactly. Life from death.
What about how he's positioned, the sort of reclining pose?
Well, that posture, leaning back or falling, it's a pretty standard way Mayan artists showed figures in transition. You see it elsewhere for death, rebirth, even vision quests. It's not unique to Pakal here.
And his clothes, the jewelry.
All perfectly consistent with what we know about Mayan royalty. Elaborate stuff, jade ear spools, necklaces, bracelets, anklets, a royal loincloth, other bits of regalia. It all checks out with other finds.
And that little scroll thing near his nose or mouth, the thing some people call a breathing tube.
Yes, that. Mainstream interpretation. It's a common artistic symbol. Represents breath, or maybe speech, or the soul leaving the body. Sometimes it's clearly a nose plug or just an ornament, like a jade bead. Definitely not seen as technology in this view.
Okay, so putting it all together, the mainstream perspective is that this lid is this incredibly rich, layered diagram.
A cosmological statement.
Right, showing Pakal's journey through death, his connection to the gods, his eventual rebirth, all using the established symbolic language of his own culture, a spiritual message.
Precisely. Deeply embedded in classic Maya beliefs.
Okay, so that's the accepted archaeological view. Complex, symbolic, deeply Mayan, but what if that's all wrong? Or maybe, what if it's a deliberate misdirection? Because there's a whole other way to look at this lid.
A radically different way.
Where Pakal isn't on some mystical journey, he's at the controls, he's on a launch pad.
This is where we get into the Lord Pakal's machine conspiracy theory. And the person who really blasted this into popular culture was Erich von Däniken.
Chariots of the Gods, that book from '68.
That's the one. Hugely influential. Von Däniken wasn't just saying, hey, maybe aliens visited. He was pointing at things like this lid and saying, look, this isn't myth. This is a picture of their technology.
Like photographic evidence, almost.
That was the implication, that maybe our whole understanding of the past, our origins, it's all wrong. Maybe it's way stranger. Maybe it involves extraterrestrials.
So the core claim for the Pakal lid is?
Simple and startling. It's not a mythological scene. It's a literal depiction of Lord Pakal piloting a spacecraft. He's an ancient astronaut.
Wow. Okay. So how do they reinterpret all those elements we just talked about? The world tree, the bird, the jaws?
They basically turn every element into a smoking gun for the spaceship theory. Take Pakal's posture.
Not falling in death?
No. He's sitting upright, or maybe slightly reclined, like a pilot in a seat. Leaning forward, focused. Hands on controls, feet on pedals.
Controls and pedals, where do they see those?
The intricate patterns and objects around his hands and feet are reinterpreted as Levers, buttons, foot pedals, and the whole structure around it
World tree structure.
becomes the spaceship itself. That celestial bird at the top, that's the nose cone, maybe, or the front of the cockpit, with little antenna or sensors sticking out.
And the main part around Pakal is the cabin.
The cabin, yeah, the main body of the craft.
Yeah.
And the most striking part for proponents, the bottom.
The jaws of the underworld.
Forget the jaws. That becomes the engine nozzle.
Yeah.
The fiery exhaust plume of a rocket taking off, complete with stylized flames and smoke billowing out.
I can kind of see how someone might look at it that way visually.
It's visually suggestive, definitely. And then there's PAKAL'S gear.
The breathing tube thing.
Becomes an actual breathing tube. Or an oxygen mask connected to some kind of life support. His fancy headdress. That's a helmet. Or part of some complex headgear needed for space travel.
And all the other decorative lines and patterns.
Wires, tubes, conduits, connecting him to the machine systems. Everything gets a technological explanation.
So who was Pakal in this theory? Was he an alien himself?
That's debated among believers. Maybe an alien, yeah. Or maybe a human-alien hybrid. Or just a regular human who was given this advanced technology by visiting ETs.
The implications are just huge if this were true.
Oh, absolutely. It implies ancient alien visitation happened, that our whole timeline of technological development is wrong. Maybe ancient civilizations were way more advanced, or at least had outside help.
And it speaks to our origins, maybe, a cosmic connection.
Yeah, that humanity might have deeper ties to beings from other planets than we think. Maybe we're descendants or experiments. It opens up a massive can of worms.
Okay, so if von Däniken and others are right, if this really is a spaceship, the next logical question is huge. Why isn't this front page news? Why isn't it taught in history class?
Exactly. And that leads directly to the next layer of the theory. The grand cover-up.
Ah, okay. The idea that someone knows the truth and is hiding it.
Precisely. The core assertion is that the real meaning of PAKAL'S lid, the ancient astronaut, the spaceship, it's known by powerful groups globally, and they are actively suppressing this truth.
Actively suppressing it. So who are they? Who are the alleged suppressors?
Well, the first group usually pointed to is mainstream archaeology and academia itself.
The experts. Why would they hide it?
The theory claims they're dogmatic, stuck in their ways, unwilling to accept evidence that overturns everything they've built their careers on. They're protecting funding, reputations.
I'm afraid of a paradigm shift that makes them irrelevant.
Something like that. Fear of losing authority, having their whole framework shattered. That's the accusation.
Okay, who else is supposedly in on it?
Governments are often named. The Mexican government, obviously, given Palenque's location, but also the U.S., other global powers.
And their motive would be?
Preventing mass panic, maybe? Or, more cynically, wanting to monopolize any potential alien technology hinted at by PAKAL'S machine. Imagine the military or economic advantage.
Right. Control the narrative, control the tech, keep the public in the dark. Maybe keep them more manageable.
That's the idea. Control the story of human origins, keep people subservient, and sometimes religious institutions get thrown into the mix too.
How so?
Well, think about it. If ancient aliens were involved in our creation or early history, that could fundamentally undermine the core beliefs of many major world religions. So maybe they'd lobby against revealing such things.
Okay, academia, governments, religion, anyone else.
Yeah, sometimes you hear about a shadowy global elite or secret societies, the kind of overarching cabal pulling the strings behind the scenes.
The Illuminati type idea.
Kind of, that they deem this truth too dangerous for the rest of us. Maybe they're even in contact with the aliens themselves and are managing this situation. Who knows?
So the motives for suppression are pretty chilling, according to the theory. Control, preventing panic, maybe hiding advanced energy sources.
Maintaining control over our understanding of who we are, where we came from, and what we're capable of. Preventing some kind of mass spiritual awakening that could challenge their power. Maybe even avoiding accountability for, ancient manipulations or our true place in the universe. It's pretty deep.
And how do they supposedly pull off this massive, centuries-long cover-up?
The methods are varied, according to proponents. Dismissal and ridicule is a big one. Labeling anyone who suggests the spaceship idea is pseudoscience or fringe, making them look foolish.
Marginalizing them.
Exactly. Controlling access, too, making it hard to get funding or permission for investigations that might challenge the mainstream view, whether at Palenque or other anomaly sites.
And controlling the information flow.
Misinformation, misdirection, constantly emphasizing the complex Mayan iconography angle to make the spaceship idea seem silly or ignorant. And, of course, controlling what's taught in schools and universities, ensuring only the mainstream interpretation gets presented as fact.
Wow. It's a pretty comprehensive conspiracy, if true, covers all the bases. All right, so we've heard the cover-up theory, but what actual evidence do the people who believe in the ancient astronaut interpretation point to? What makes them so convinced?
Well, for them, the primary evidence is fundamentally visual. It's about how they interpret the image itself, combined with seeing it as part of a bigger pattern.
Okay, so first, the visual stuff, the rocket launch look.
That's probably the biggest one, yeah. They argue that the overall shape, and especially that bottom section with the supposed flames and smoke, looks uncannily like a modern rocket taking off.
And the argument is, how could the Maya possibly depict that?
Exactly. How could they draw something that looks so much like 20th century technology, unless they'd actually seen it or been given knowledge of it? They say the resemblance is just too strong to be a coincidence.
Then there's PAKAL'S posture again. Not just reclining,
but active, sitting in what looks like a modern ergonomic pilot seat, leaning forward purposefully, hands on levers, feet on pedals. They see intent in action, not the passivity of death.
So the posture seems wrong for a dead king, in their view.
Right. It looks like someone operating machinery, and then there's the gear.
The breathing apparatus and helmet.
Yeah, that scroll from his mouth is interpreted quite literally as a breathing tube or oxygen mask, and the big headdress becomes a helmet. Essential gear, they argue, for space travel or operating in a sealed cockpit. It fits the astronaut narrative.
And all the intricate details around him, not just decoration.
No, they see those as representing complex machinery. Wires, tubes, conduits, control panels, things that look technological rather than purely symbolic or decorative.
Okay, so the visual interpretation is key. What else?
Well, they often frame the sarcophagus lid as what's called an out-of-place artifact, an opart.
Meaning?
An object that seems way too technologically advanced for the time period it supposedly comes from. Finding something like this, they argue, points towards external influence, like alien visitors bringing technology.
And they see this fitting into a bigger picture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The PAKAL carving isn't seen in isolation. It's presented as just one piece of evidence in a global pattern of potential ancient alien contact.
Like the Nazca lines in Peru.
Right, or the Egyptian pyramids, certain interpretations of Sumerian texts, the Vamana flying machines mentioned in ancient Indian texts. They see PAKAL'S spaceship as fitting right into this larger ancient astronaut paradigm. It's offered as direct visual proof of a human-like figure actually using one of these advanced machines.
And finally, how does the mainstream reaction play into their argument?
Well, the fact that mainstream archaeology largely dismisses or ignores the spaceship interpretation. Proponents see that not as good science, but as proof of the cover-up.
The silence is suspicious to them.
Exactly. They see it as a stubborn refusal to even consider the possibility, which they interpret as deliberate suppression aimed at protecting the old, fragile paradigm of human history.
Okay, so that's the case for PAKAL'S machine, laid out by its proponents. Visual cues, opart status, fitting a pattern, alleged suppression. But now let's pivot. Let's look at the mainstream archaeological response, the overwhelming rejection and the explanations they offer.
Right. And it's important to stress, this isn't just one or two skeptical archaeologists. It's the vast, vast majority of Mayanists, art historians, archaeologists worldwide. They overwhelmingly reject the PAKAL'S machine idea.
And why? What's the core reason?
Fundamentally, they argue it comes down to misinterpretation. A serious misreading of Mayan art, completely ignoring the cultural context, and basically just projecting modern ideas onto an ancient artifact.
Imposing our world onto theirs.
Precisely. And the biggest counter-argument is just context. Consistent Mayan iconography.
Meaning we see these same symbols elsewhere.
Everywhere. Every single element on that lid. The world tree, the celestial bird, the serpent bar, the maze god imagery, the underworld jaws. It's all standard stuff in Mayan art. You find it on pottery, on murals, on other monuments, countless times. The Waka Chan, the world tree, is absolutely central and pops up constantly. It's not some weird anomaly on PAKAL'S lid.
Okay, so the symbols aren't unique. What about the posture, the pilot pose?
Again, context. That reclining or falling pose, it's a standard artistic convention in Mayan art for showing someone in transition. Death, birth, visions. You see figures in similar poses often. That doesn't automatically mean pilot.
And the exhaust flames.
Those are almost certainly the stylized jaws of the earth monster, opening to the underworld, or maybe the roots of the world tree digging down. That kind of imagery emerging from or descending into monstrous jaws is all over Mayan art. It's not fire from an engine.
Right, and the breathing tube.
As we touched on, that scroll is a common symbol for breath, spirit, maybe speech. Sometimes it's clearly depicted as a nose ornament or a bead. There's absolutely no reason, based on other Mayan art, to think it's a piece of technology.
And the helmet?
Just a headdress. An elaborate royal Mayan headdress, probably adorned with jade and feathers, consistent with depictions of other rulers. Not a space helmet.
The controls around his hands and feet.
Jewelry, regalia, parts of his clothing. Again, totally consistent with Mayan elite attire and symbols of power, not levers and buttons.
So the mainstream view says if you understand the language of Mayan art.
The lid makes perfect sense as a religious and cosmological statement. It's about PAKAL'S death, his journey into Xibalba, and his rebirth, connecting him to the gods and ensuring the continuation of his lineage and the life cycles. It's profoundly Mayan, not technological.
And is there any other evidence at Palenque that might suggest spaceships, like blueprints, tools, metal scrap?
Absolutely zero. That's a crucial point. There is no other archaeological evidence whatsoever, not at Palenque, not at any other Mayan site, to support the idea of advanced technology like rockets or spacecraft. No advanced metallurgy, no scientific texts describing such things, no workshops, nothing.
So the lid would be this completely isolated anomaly if it were a spaceship.
Completely isolated, which makes the spaceship interpretation highly improbable from an archaeological standpoint. It's seen as imposing 20th century ideas, rockets, astronauts onto ancient art instead of trying to understand it on its own terms.
So the scholarly consensus is pretty solid on this.
Overwhelmingly solid.
Yeah.
Based on decades of linguistic work deciphering Mayan writing, epigraphy studying the inscriptions, and iconographic analysis comparing symbols across the entire Mayan world, the traditional cosmological interpretation holds up.
Okay, so we have the detailed mainstream explanation backed by tons of research and context, which debunks the spaceship idea pretty thoroughly. And yet, the Lord PAKAL'S machine theory persists. It's still incredibly popular. Why? Why does it endure despite all the evidence against it?
That's a really interesting question, isn't it? I think there are several factors at play. One is simply the visual power of the image itself.
It does kind of look like.
It does. To someone unfamiliar with Mayan iconography, especially if you just see the lid by itself, out of context, it can look remarkably like a figure inside some kind of machine. That superficial resemblance to a rocket launch is undeniably striking.
And that visual hook is strong.
Very strong. Then you have the inherent appeal of the ancient astronaut idea itself.
It's exciting.
It's incredibly exciting. The thought that maybe we weren't alone, that advanced beings helped kickstart civilization, it's just a much more, well, cinematic explanation for things like pyramids or intricate carvings than, say, generations of human ingenuity and complex religious beliefs.
It feels more profound, maybe.
Perhaps. It taps into that sense of wonder and maybe a dissatisfaction with purely terrestrial explanations for some ancient mysteries.
And does distrust of experts play a role?
I think so, yeah. There's definitely a segment of the population that's generally skeptical of official explanations from science or academia. When experts dismiss something sensational like PAKAL'S spaceship, it can actually fuel the belief that those experts are hiding something.
The forbidden archaeology idea again.
Exactly. The notion that the mainstream is actively suppressing inconvenient truths or ignoring these out-of-place artifacts really resonates with people who already feel alienated from or suspicious of established institutions.
And then there's just the sheer scale of the idea.
The what-if factor. Yeah, what if it were true? The implications are mind-bending, rewriting history, proving alien contact. That possibility is so tantalizing, so huge, that it makes people want to believe, even if the logic or evidence is shaky.
It's also maybe simpler, in a way.
That's a good point. The spaceship interpretation visually is quite intuitive. Look, it's a guy in a rocket. The mainstream explanation involving the world tree, Xibalba, the maze god, that requires understanding a whole complex, abstract belief system. It takes more effort.
The spaceship is a quicker read.
It is. And finally, you just can't ignore the impact of pop culture.
Von Daniken's book, TV shows.
Exactly. Chariots of the Gods, the Ancient Aliens TV series, countless other books, documentaries. They've pushed the ancient astronaut theory, and specifically the image of PAKAL'S spaceship, into the public consciousness for decades. That image is now famous, almost independent of the actual archaeology.
So it's kind of self-perpetuating now.
To a large extent, yes. It's become a cultural meme, almost.
Well, we've certainly journeyed through a lot today. We've looked at this incredible artifact, PAKAL'S sarcophagus lid, from two dramatically different angles.
Yeah, on one side, the mainstream view, a profound, intricate map of Mayan cosmology, depicting a king's journey through death and rebirth within his own cultural understanding of the universe.
And on the other side, the persistent conspiracy theory that's not symbolic at all, but literal proof of an ancient astronaut, hidden technology, and a truth about our origins suppressed by powerful forces.
It really highlights how powerfully we humans are driven by interpretation, especially visual interpretation, and how much we seem to yearn for hidden truths, for extraordinary explanations for our past.
Absolutely. So, as you listening think about all this, consider the mysteries locked away in our ancient past, the secrets these stones might still hold. Ask yourself, is Lord PAKAL'S sarcophagus lid just a beautiful, complex symbol of a king's journey through the cosmos as his people understood it? A purely Mayan statement?
Or is it something more? A profound hidden message, a fleeting glimpse of ancient visitors from the stars deliberately obscured by, those who don't want us to know.
Is it waiting there, silently in the jungle, holding the key to rewrite everything we think we know about human history?
For now, the answer remains etched in that ancient stone.
But that captivating what if of PAKAL'S machine, well, it definitely keeps echoing, doesn't it? Right through the depths of our imagination.